Hello, friends. Let me, hmm. Well, you guys can't hear the music anymore, right? I can. Because coming out in the speakers. Hi, Natalie. Uh, I'm, I just washed my hair recently, so, I'm wet. I'm a mess. What else is new? But I really need to get this done. In part because I forgot the main freaking ingredient, or one of them. Um, Finally getting going on this experimenting toward my Delicious in Dungeon cookbook. Woo! Um, and tomorrow's going to be so busy. Tomorrow, there's the No Kings protest. Yes, I'm going to one, or planning to. There's this Sanders and Sons grocery that has all local like meat and produce and stuff that is having some kind of grand opening that my friend Lori wants to go to me with. Damn it. All right. I think I need bartender's friend or something. This has got stuff. Um, and what else? We had yard work to do, but it rained on the pile of dirt, which is a problem. No Kings. Oh, Saunders' Son. And then Rob has a show tomorrow night, so I'll be mixing for that. So I'm excited. This is the first attempt. I rewatched Delicious in Dungeon episode 1 today. I got out my notes. I added some notes. I checked something odd because on the rewatch this time I watched the original Japanese with English subtitles, and before I watched English dub with subtitles. Nothing ever matches, right? But I had this note that made me really excited because I wanted access to another ingredient to flavor up this broth. It's a hot pot, giant scorpion hot pot. I saw like one other person making this online. I think they used shrimp and then they stuffed it in a fake lobster shell. I don't know. I'm not doing that. But where the fuck are my notes? Sorry, I literally had them here today, amending them right next to my chair. And I need to be able to make note if I change something. Great. I have a specific notebook for this that there it is. I've had around for years. And then finally, you have those blank notebooks and it's like, oh, I need to use that. Let me know if you can hear that music and if it's distracting to you or not. I should kind of maybe shut it off. But anyway, the note was excitedly that there's a far-fetched reference in the show. Because one of the characters, so the story, if you don't know, is that these adventurers in a dungeon have to go back into the dungeon, but they're out of money for food or hiring more help or whatever, because their friend slash sister slash companion for adventuring got eaten by a dragon, or they think eaten by a dragon, but she cast a spell that got them all out, and they've got to go back in, but they don't have any money. And the main tanky character, who is her brother, wants to go right back in, and he's kind of got this fascination with wanting to eat monsters. He loves monsters; they're interesting, and he's like, "There's a whole ecosystem in there, and it makes sense we could live in there." And they go in, and he's got a book that he scavenged from somewhere with some instructions, and they meet Senshi, who's a dwarf who's been living in the dungeon for 10 years, and is an amazing caretaker of that ecosystem and of he's quite the gourmet. So Farfetch'd is a Pokemon that's like a duck but he's carrying around a big leek, like one of these. Like, it's really cute. You know, it's a Pokemon, and they're arguing about she doesn't want to eat any. The druid's really squeamish about the whole thing, and she doesn't want to eat anything humanoid. Makes sense. Um, but what about man eating plants? Because then they eat men, and like, what about monsters? And there's all these questions, and she's like, "Oh, fine, as long as it's edible." But then they're giving her shit like, "You just said you'd eat anything, and then now you're arguing with everything we bring up." And um, the tanky guy, the paladin's like, "Dude, a duck isn't going to come walking by carrying a vegetable, right?" Which is a leek. I think he even says a duck and a leek, and a duck carrying a giant leek in the English dubbed version. And so I was like, oh my gosh, awesome. Like, they freaking mentioned Farfetch, which is really cute Pokemon reference, but also it kind of opened me up to being able to use a leek in recipes I make from that first chapter. Um, but then I watched the Japanese one today, and they didn't say that. But he said something like, um, and then I watched, I watched the English, the other, I watched them back and forth that same season over to figure out, like, okay, I wasn't crazy, I saw this reference right. And then I found it. And then I went back to the Japanese original with the dub, and the dub there was like, a monster isn't gonna, what was it? Um, and that it's not like maybe a monster is gonna be walk by carrying like a plant, and then we can attack them because there was the rationale that, I mean, all the monsters that don't attack people, they would have to place traps and it would take a lot of time. And he's like, but nothing's for free. We're going to have a battle. And, you know, so it was related closely enough that I decided I'm good. Go ahead. Stop being such a nerd for one thing. But I guess it's a nerd to have watched enough versions that, like, one of them turned it into a Pokemon reference and I'm taking it. In the all the versions I've watched, they refer to the giant scorpion they fight when uh, the main guy's killing it and stuff, as, oh, you're killing it like a crayfish. Um, these are langostinos. I got them frozen at Aldi, yay, which is uh, crayfish tails. They do taste similar to lobster, which is awesome. The presentation picture on the title panel of the episode looks like a big lobster tail. I think absolutely for presentation, when I get this recipe sorted so it's good, you know, I might for a cookbook put a lobster tail on it, or let an artist draw it if we go with a drawing it. I'm breaking these up so they thaw a little bit faster. I don't want to completely cool my broth once we get it done. So I'll be using crayfish for the giant lobster. The first monster they run into in the dungeon, they barely get in the dungeon, and some people come tearing out, screaming, yelling, crying, save us. And they're like, oh, noobs, because these are really easy monsters to cook, are these walking mushrooms. Really cute. And they look a lot like shape-wise, like oyster mushroom. And oyster mushrooms are mentioned later, as well as some other types, when Senshi brings ingredients and helps them get better at cooking. So I got some king oyster mushrooms. Um, the monster ones, basically, they had this shape, but then they had little feet coming off that look like mushrooms. And it's really neat when they start cutting up the mushrooms to cook, and like it's super hard to cut this way, but it's easier, and it occurs to the main uh, tanky guy that, like, oh, so it's useful to learn for attacking them later. It's gonna be a lot easier, instead of slashing across, to slice them diagonally or long ways, because of the way the grain runs in them. So it's kind of this nifty learning as they go to get better at battling monsters as they learn to also cook them. Um, so I got the king oyster mushrooms. I got a gourmet blend of Baby Bella, which is a lot what the mushroom monster's feet look like. Senshi does okay. Doofy Paladin guy cooks up a piece of scorpion, and his book says it's fine, so he eats part of the tail and he gets sick from the venom. Um, and everybody's like, "Yeah, I told you so." But then Senshi sees them, comes up, introduces himself, and is super excited that people are interested in eating monsters because, like, he believes this is the way things should be. And he explains, like, okay, you got to cut off the claws and the tail, and you open up the body, and then this will go in the broth and make it better. And he's explaining how to properly cook this and do a better job, and brings a few things with him. He's got this little vial of brown that he pours in, which I'm translating to soy sauce. That's, I feel, like an easy mix. But he mentions a few other kinds of mushrooms when he's describing the tastes. So I got this gourmet blend to play with. I'm gonna cut up some of the ones that are woodier. Um, he cuts off roots to add, and um, looking at that, it looked like ginger to me in some ways. But then he described it as these are actually trees that are growing above the ground, and the roots just come down here that he was cutting things off of. And he had some, it looks like almost like a patty pan squash to me. That's not, but green. I don't really have a good replacement for that, but I'm gonna put some Napa cabbage in to get some nice green in the crock pot. And honestly, if you had a cross section at the top of this, it would look, that also looks very much like what he put in. So I feel good about adding some Napa, which is a good natural ingredient for a hot pot. So another thing he mentioned was with those roots, when they were showing him preparing them, and it looked very much like this. It was like a brown, almost bark. I mean, it's a root. And he cleaned it off and then cut it, kind of like you would a carrot from there, and put that in. Um, I got and they referred to when they're eating it, it being fluffy, um, starchy. So this is going to be, I mean, I went straight over. I knew I can always, Compare Foods always has taro root. I've used it before, and that's going to be my replacement for that. But I saw somebody online who did try to make a recipe out of this. Use white yam. This is white yam. And so I may use a little of that too, so that I can kind of see which one works better, and tastes better. And I still have what looks like a pretty authentic option, and because of the way they grow, fit. Nerdy enough yet? Okay, so how am I starting? Um, I've got to start by making a little broth. Um, because, and there's probably a better way to do this than heat up the whole pot. Because I want to use a mushroom stock. Besides the Langostinos will flavor the broth some. Um, it's definitely a mushroom-based broth. They refer specifically to um, how much stronger smelling and tasting the feet of the mushroom monster are, to make broth. And for testing today, I'm going to try, and it's a new ingredient I wanted for a long time, and I had to order online, was I've got better than bouillon mushroom base. Um, it's not, and they don't have a reduced sodium version. So I'm a little concerned it might be too salty, but I want to give it a try. I'm going to try a small amount and then decide if I want to just dilute it in here, in the big pot. Um, or not use it at all next time, but I don't want to start with it right away and everything be ruined because yeah, it's salty. So it's okay. I have solutions. Um, Also, I want to be able to be friendly to people who can't afford fancier ingredients or don't have access to them. Um, Sorry, I forgot to grab the noodles. I'm gonna grab the noodles. Um, yeah, I can just use I think a more dilute. Let me mix it up. Uh, Version. I can use this and then just be super careful with the soy, and put more water on and rely on the fresh mushrooms, the leek, and the langostinos to flavor the broth further to keep it from being oversalted. So, in the future, I'll probably use this and make a mushroom stock at home. I've done that before. My son gets these at Costco. Um, I didn't do it ahead for this because I did want to give the bouillon a chance. And it's a lot. I feel like these are wonderful, but man, I wish I was growing a wider variety of mushrooms at home to dehydrate myself because I would wash them better. There's no avoiding, it would seem, there being some level of sandy. So it's great. You can follow the directions on here. You just rinse them in lukewarm water, put into a bowl filled with hot water, soak for 25 minutes and drain, and then filter the liquids. Then plunge them into boiling water for 5 minutes and drain. So, and then that's the instructions for then cooking the mushrooms, being able to use them to just rehydrate them. But if you strain through a strainer and like cheesecloth or whatever, you can end up with a good mushroom stock as well. Okay. It's pretty freaking salty. That's okay. I'm gonna go with that. I'm going to saute um, leek and mushrooms. Um, I'll be leaving. Actually, first thing I'm gonna do is saute one of these mushrooms and then leave it out so that it's going to be like presenting on that. No, a couple of them out. So they're presenting on the hot pot so everybody knows what it is, like you do. But I will saute the leek and mushrooms and ginger and I'm adding some lemongrass too. So here's my reason for doing that is there are noodles in the hot pot that Senshi made. Let me just get this leek going because I'm gonna have to drown it to get the sand out of it. A slime attacks Marcel, with the druid, in the middle of them talking about all this, and yeah, I'm just gonna slice it up. He gets the slime off, and he shows them he's got a rack for drying slimes that he dries them, like basically rolls it out, dries them, and then he slices them into noodles. They look very much like a wide rice noodle. So but part of the description he gives is that they're also good tossed in citrus, lemon, lime, or orange juice or whatever, but that using some citrus is how he gets it to set up into the noodles. So I have some wide rice noodles, and I'm going to use a little lemongrass to kind of give that little hint of hey, these were once exposed to citrus without hurting the soup. And I'm calling this my first attempt, but I did one time kind of make for myself. I should probably show you what I'm doing here. Using some of these ingredients. And I added lime to the soup and it didn't work. So yeah, I've got my cut up leeks in a strainer in a bowl of water to get all any sandy bits off of them. If you've used leeks, you know that's a thing that happens. And I'm doing it this complicated way because, well, my sink's not right here, sorry. And I'm gonna want to wash the Napa that way too. The Napa I am just gonna slice a little and put it in the end in the bowl for the hot pot. So, is this getting warm? Yes, it is. Little bit of oil. Get leeks in. Yeah, I'm using fresh ginger for this. I think what I'll do here is scrape. I know I brought my peeler out here because, there we go, because I have to deal with the taro. Peel that, and I'm just going to grate some in with the microplane. Oh, I hope this turns out. If it's terrible, it's terrible. But if it's good, I'm a step closer to this cookbook. I don't want to go too crazy. Ginger is aggressive, and mushrooms and langostinos are not aggressive ingredients. So, why don't I never bring my own scraper out? I freaking make and sell them to people, and I can't seem to bother bringing my own out here when I want to be using it. So I guess I'll end up with a good amount of broth. I need to use these up, which is why I'm streaming tonight, even though, because tomorrow's too long a day, even though I've got friends streaming. I feel a little bad, but Dunaway was on for hours before this, so I can't feel too bad, right? Tonda got partner. Man, awesome. That is so cool. So yeah, I'm gonna dice those up a little more. Where's a spoon? Spoon! Oh, I should go back to what I'm doing over here. Sorry. Fine mess we got, isn't it? Okay, so leek, ginger, mushrooms. And what did I say that was? Baby Bella shiitake and oyster. And then definitely more oyster, because that's the one the monster looked like. They put really big hunks in, but we don't want to quite go that far. I will put some bigger ones, because theoretically you're eating this soup with chopsticks and scooping stuff into your mouth with them. So at least as small as bite size. All right, give it a little go. I know the lemon juice, lemon grass. If I had a hunk, I'd just stick it in there and fish it out, but I do not. I don't want a whole ton of that, just enough to zhuzh up the flavor and give it a little hint. Because the noodles aren't going to go into the very end until we've got a nice broth happening. I'm not going to put the soy sauce until I have a broth either. As tempting as it is to season vegetables when I'm sauteing them, let's not. In the future, I might do something like add some white pepper. This one's really good already. Okay. But I definitely want to get a good browning. So that the broth is interesting. So while that sautés a little further, I'm gonna peel some taro. I'm probably gonna use half of this, or a little less than half. I don't know. Hopefully I can tell them apart when I'm tasting them later. Oops, didn't think of that. I got familiar with taro when I was doing low carb, eating low carb, because it was friendlier than outright potatoes, but a really good replacement. And because I love taro chips, they're one of the kinds of chip in Terra chips. If you've ever had Terra chips, they're made from a bunch of different root veg. Love them. I like them better than potato chips. I don't feel so bad when I eat them. So this is kind of what Senshi did with the roots. And these definitely seem to have got some dirt from the outside on them, but you know what? They're very starchy. This is starchier than you might think from looking at it. Ooh, I got a nice fondant there. Okay, let's deglaze that. I'm using about a cup, a little less than a cup of the mushroom base bouillon, just to kind of deglaze the pan for now while I get other ingredients prepped. Do. And you know what? I bet this isn't going to take anywhere near as long as I would be concerned about. Okay, let's just pull this off. And I'm not taking notes, but that's okay because y'all are here with me. Garbanzo soup, cool. I've never done a garbanzo soup. I've done, many, many bean soup that has garbanzos happen to be in it. I tend to use garbanzos for hummus. When I was a kid, I used to love just to eat them on salad. I feel like nobody serves them on a salad anymore. I mean, they call them chickpeas all the time, right? I don't know why. Garbanzos are much more fun to say. Yeah, this is not working as easily as I want. Okay. Probably should have just used a paring knife because this is not a very smooth surface. But I rarely cook them. I can see where there'd be a great idea. I'd love it. I look forward to seeing it in the Discord, I hope. And seems like it'd be a really good ingredient, especially if you did something like put a little baking soda in when you boil them. If you did them from scratch, they would just disintegrate easily. But if you blended the soup with a immersion blender or something, it'd be a great ingredient to make it creamy without adding fatty, creamy things. Cool. See how it's going so far. Nice. Very, very, very mushroomy. And the salt did not overpower. So I'm going to add a bunch of water. Because I need to have room for cooking all the other stuff and getting some noodles. So probably a good 3 cups of water, maybe. I should have measured that. Because I'm not taking notes because I figured I can just look at the video later. But whatever. Okay, Significantly diluted, still tastes like mushrooms, still tastes salty. Yeah, telling these two apart is going to be impossible once they're cooked. The taro and the white yam, but that's okay. I'll make these pieces a little bigger. That'll help. Then we'll try to determine which worked out better when we're done. It's a little odd to me having all these starchy vegetables in with like noodles as well. Trying to judge how much flavor it's going to get from the langostinos is going to have to wait to the end and then be adjusted. But I mean, basically, I figure what I'm going to be doing is like having a fresh mushroom in there. It's definitely got that flavor. I don't taste the lemongrass at all, so I am going to give it a little more. But that is also needs time to develop. Is I can use the bouillon at the end as salt, basically. This is a teaspoon. It's a little teaspoon for my soy sauce. I'm going to add that because I really, really want specifically that umami, but not adding a lot of extra salt yet. But I want to get that in now and see if it proportionally tastes good. And make sure it comes through. Nope, 2. Can barely taste it. I want 2. I bought MSG today, by the way. I have never had it in my house. Okay, 2 teaspoons. I mean, I'm going to take note of that. Let's say 2 teaspoons. I'm going to add more water. I'm going to say that's about 3.5. Actually, if I end up putting this whole thing on, I'll have a measurement. I'm going to say 4 cups of water. 2 teaspoons soy. And let's get this boiling. It'll definitely still get some more flavor out of these mushrooms. They're not done giving up yet. Ooh, yep. That brought it right where I want it. Kind of woody. I feel like these roots are going to take a long time. And I don't think there's any harm in putting them now. Like the langostinos and the... look how sticky. That's going to give some texture to that broth. The langostinos and the noodles go last. Rice noodles takes very, very little time. So I want to get everything else going pretty good. And be sure all the flavors from the other ingredients are doing their thing in the hot pot. That basically we've got a whole viable soup. And then I'll put the langostinos and I'll have to taste again before figuring out if I need to put more mushroom base in it or not. I may not have to. Beautiful. Okay, so let's clean up some of this while that's cooking. I've also never made Italian wedding soup. The only soup I've ever made with meatballs is I attempted my grandma's liver ball soup. I've got her liver dumpling recipe, and she just I got like beef liver, and it was way too strong, even liking liver. She must have used something else and just didn't specify that on the recipe. Like it may have been veal liver or something. Okay, so what else can I get out of my way? Let's cut Let's get some cabbage washed up, because I know I'm going to throw that in at the end, and I want to get this back in the fridge. Oh, I'm so excited. So we still need to find the creator of Delicious in Dungeon, or figure out, maybe I'll just try Netflix. I mean, it can't hurt. They did create the animated series. They own that. So I guess I could start there, because it was it was fruitless to try and track down the actual creator of the story. She's credited at the beginning of Netflix, but everything, all the research I did, she's kind of a hermit. But we gotta get at least a few of these recipes down and tested and looking great before taking that step anyway. Should show you. I'll show you this water in a minute. I'll rinse my leaves. No, it doesn't look like it's simmering, but I can hear it simmering. If you cook, you know, that makes sense. Weather's been really, really nice today and yesterday. It's been all over the place around here lately. It goes from like 30s to 80s. I have to keep changing from heat to air. But here's a look at all that detritus came from just rinsing the leek and the cabbage and some of the sliced taro. I mean, most of it, you know, it's like, in that case, it's like potato. Like, most of it came off with the peel, but yeah, even if you don't see it, there's sand in those leeks. Trust me. And now I have like a leek and a half still left over, so I'll probably make some soup or see if my friend Lori, we're talking about going to that Sanders and Sons grand opening tomorrow at some point. I grew up having liver. And good to see you again. Mom would make liver and onions, and it was kind of a, at first, you know, when you're littler, like, you got to eat it. You can use as much ketchup as you want, but you got to eat it. And we would put a lot of ketchup on it, and then it kind of graduated to like, okay, you can use as much A1 as you want, but you got to eat it. And then it was, okay, you can put, you know, as much of the gravy on as you want as you eat it. And she made delicious onion gravy. I freaking love onion gravy. And so the whole liver and onions, you know, it pairs so well. None of my family really like it, unfortunately. None of my grown family. And I didn't really have an option to like be forcing stuff, because we kind of have actual reasons, the ones that don't eat it, for not liking it. Yeah. But I think my eldest and my middle like chicken livers, liverwurst, you know, liver related products, but I never really cooked it in the house growing up. The only time I had access to some good stuff from a farm, it was very strong tasting. That was what I tried to make the liver balls with, and they just weren't as I remember. They weren't like grandma's. But it got me on, hey, I can make noodles. You don't realize it's one of those things, you don't realize how easy it is. I should probably do that on stream sometime. Okay, so I think I'll leave the ginger out in the fridge for a while. Come on, get cooking here. I need some action. Need to see some more action. I'm going to put some more veggies away. I'm still here. You can still chat at me. I'm very happy to see you. Has anybody got any good Friday night plans? Is anybody coming to play games later with Theo and the Diamond Club gang? I'm not sure if I am or not. I think there's a good chance. I think Rob will want to stay home because tomorrow we have to go out to what would be our normal place we would go get a pint on Friday. Because his band's playing a show there. They're all roots. I'm putting them all in a bag. If I don't get to using it, I will freeze the ginger down the road to preserve it. Maybe I'll get another attempt at this on in the next few days, but if I don't, I'll come up with another way to use the batata. I feel batata. It's not batata. Taro and yam. I feel like fritters or potato pancakes, boxies would be a good call. Oh, you like beef heart? You know, I like I never had beef heart, but I've had venison heart, and it was pretty great as an experience for me because I grew up with venison all my life. I've talked about that a lot of times. But the first time I had the heart, because the heart tasted like liver, but it had the texture because it's a muscle of steak. Oh, loved it. Loved it, loved it. So I need tasting spoons and I don't know what my kids. I have scoop spoons because I love the shape of them. I think they're ending up in my son's bedroom. Hey, I think Fletcher asked who's getting them. Can you deal with that, sweetie? Sorry. He's outside. I don't know if... Oh, that's right. Rob was going to get him because he's getting them pizza. Why do folks gotta act like nobody knows the plan when they already discussed it among themselves? That's being the mom's like, huh? I wonder how long John is done. I'll probably raid him when we're done here. I don't think I've ever had eyeballs, Therion. I feel like the lenses would give me a problem. Like, aren't they crunchy? And the jelly sounds like a decent idea. Okay. Nice and mushroomy. Did I grab a fork? No, of course I didn't. That's okay. I got tongs. I feel like it's going to take a little while for the root veg to be done. Oh. No, that's mushroom. Haha. Little knife. No. Maybe not as long as I thought. A lot quicker than potato, is what I'm going to say. This is another... Okay. Kind of boring. Kind of boring. Yeah, no less boring than putting a potato in some soup. So that piece needs to get smaller. But I would take a piece off to do that because that's the yam. And I want a better bead on its flavor difference between that and the taro. Texture's doing something very interesting. I'm trying to discern if in this show they mean fluffy or did they just mean starchy? I wish I knew Japanese properly. The yam is definitely fluffier than the taro. Good to know. So I'll probably either use both or in the recipe I could probably just say use either, I think. Wow, I don't think it needs much else. It's a good mushroomy umami broth. I'm going to get the langostinos in because I need to know how that affects the flavor profile before I make any other adjustments and add noodles. Haven't seen Handover in a while. Anybody? Definitely makes it prettier. I know the light isn't great. This camera is not. I mean, my new camera is better than the old one, but they pink up a little bit. I feel like shrimp would be an acceptable substitute, but it definitely has a different flavor than langostinos. I haven't had langostinos in years and years. It's another when I was a kid, my mom used to take us to a restaurant that had crayfish tails. Well, no, she took us to a place that had, they'd call it langostino. It's really good in like a cream sauce on pasta. You'd see them in Italian restaurants is mostly where I saw them growing up in Western New York. Discord, Ko-fi, cool things are doing. Yeah, I've had whole fish, Terion, and thank you. Hopefully it is delicious. This is my experimenting for my delicious in dungeon cookbook that I'm trying to develop. The first episode, each episode is named after a different dish. Episode 1 is hot pot / tart. There's also like a fruit and vegetable tart that they make in that episode. I don't know if I'll get around to that yet. I want to get a couple recipes created, tested, ready to go, some layout, get some artwork done, and have enough to make a proposal and try to get IP permission to be the official cookbook instead of just doing a fan cookbook. So the hot pot is made from giant scorpion and that they kill and walking mushroom. The walking mushroom looks like an oyster, like a king oyster mushroom. You know, like walking along with little feet. Crayfish is mentioned in two different translations I watched of it as what the what the giant scorpion is like. So it's a lot stronger flavor than I expected it to be. I haven't had crayfish in years. Last time I had them, somebody like gave me pounds of them, raw to boil up and just eat from raw. I probably should have put less for the amount of soup that's in here. but I didn't want to skimp on it. But it would definitely do a different thing if you just put a couple in. I should have just put a couple in at a time. Or if you switched it out for like a lobster tail and just put one in and let it cook in the broth. That's an alternate way to do this I'm looking at. Yeah, whole ass turn that into a seafood soup. It's fine. I just don't want to have lost the mushroom flavor that much. I'm going to put in some more of the oyster mushroom. I'm going to a little more lemongrass. I really got to find a source locally for actual stalks of lemongrass. Yes, very earthy. Very earthy. I was going to use a smaller pot, but I wanted room to be able to make adjustments. I'll be relying on the video and going back and taking new notes for my additions and adjustments. Okay. Now, these noodles, they're rice noodles, so they're not going to pull as much flavor as other noodles might, but they're really going to fit in with, like I said, in the earlier, for those of you that weren't here, in the episode, Senshi makes the noodles from, you see how see-through they are? Jelly monsters, slimes, that's right. He explains the anatomy of a slime. It's really not just one gelatinous thing, and how he spreads them out, uses citrus juice, which is why I'm using the lemongrass to get a little hint of that in the soup, to have them coagulate properly, and then he slices them up into noodles, which he adds to their hot pot that they're trying to accomplish. And then Senshi joins their party and continues through the dungeon with them. I freaking love this show so much. I wanted to make a cookbook of this immediately. I can't believe it doesn't exist. You know, hopefully nobody gets around to stealing the idea. Maybe they couldn't find the creator either, but I'm good at that kind of thing. So hopefully I get that figured out. And I'm willing to, even if it's not the official, get a cookbook out there. My publisher for my other book is perfectly willing to publish my cookbook. I'll have to save up some money. I want Carter Johnson to do the art. So I'm hoping that's how that works out. She likes the show too. Ugh. It's so cute, the show. Ooh, hey, it's lightning out there. Try to decide what I want to do. If I want to put this just in raw. Oh no. No, despite how the presentation looked in the show, that's going to have to be cooked or sauteed to be added to this bowl in any form. That's probably why when I've done hot pot, I haven't seen that particular kind of mushroom. Oh my gosh, and it's funny because it totally held up to the idea that they present, where it's really easy to cut it this way and not easy to cut it this way. Biting into it this way was so tough, but cutting through them is like a piece of cake the other direction. Just like meat, right? Gotta go with the grain. It's got a really funky taste raw. These noodles are taking their sweet time. I'm gonna turn it down just a little bit because that'll give the churro and the yam a little more time to go. Yeah, so like 5 to 8 minutes and we'll be good. To continue to just zhuzh and adjust this soup. The nap I don't want in too long, right? Yeah. Yeah. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get the leafier parts out and put the ribbier parts of the napa in now. It's a cabbage. It's gonna add some flavor. God, I know what all the flavors do. It sure looks pretty to me. I mean, if you like earthy food. Oh, so anyway, yeah, I have had whole fish before, and I get it about the cheeks, but I've never had it where you eat the eyes. I guess nobody suggested it at a time where I was doing that kind of thing. And I haven't cooked whole fish in years and years and years. I do have a funny story about it, but I probably shouldn't tell that. It's not my story to tell. My son had an experience thinking it was okay to order whole fish, and that didn't work out. Crawfish hunt in North Georgia. Yeah, I feel like I'm trying to remember who gave me those bags of crawfish. But I think they came from Georgia. Like somebody I knew was traveling and they were like, "Oh, September would want these," and brought me like two big plastic bags. I can't remember who it was, of just muddy crawfish. And I was so desperately trying to sort out how I'm gonna, cook these in a way that my family would eat them, because I was like, I know they're only going to be able to find the tails and handle that business. And at that time, Victor might have eaten them, Connor would, but Rob and Fletcher are both, well, Fletcher has ARFID, Rob's allergic to seafood. But now, Victor, Fletcher, and Rob are allergic to shellfish. Okay, once I have the proportions of flavor, I will definitely throw the crawfish in at the very end like I wanted to, or thaw them first if I use crayfish, because it's getting a little chewy. That happens really, really quick with these. But I really needed to know if it was gonna, how it was gonna change the flavor of the broth, so I didn't end up with something people wouldn't eat at the very end, right? Part of testing. Pretend I know what I'm doing here. Okay. Checking my taro and my white yam. They want to come apart, but are they changed enough that they're yummy to eat, and see if they took on any flavor? Ooh, funky. Funky earth is smelling. Shoot. I know. Okay. Yep, that's done. That's good to eat. I'm gonna throw in one other thing. I wanted to bring it up. I remember catching crawdaddies up north in my childhood, but we didn't eat them, which I don't know why. Okay, there was something else I wanted to do. Miso is something I was going to add to this, and I almost forgot. And I do have a way I want to play with that. They didn't have miso in the store because I'm in fucking bumfuck in North Carolina, and they didn't have it. And I had been to enough stores today, I didn't want to go to more. So, and maybe somebody can answer this question, but I figured this can't hurt it. There is a mention of using algae that Senshi puts in the soup, and I can't remember what the druid girl says it reminds her of it, made it taste like. But anyway, they use an algae, and I figure miso is going to be a good little add to emulate that ingredient. Couldn't find any, so I'm putting a little nutritional yeast. It's not exactly the same thing, right? Like I don't have a lot of experience with nutritional yeast. My son loves it. I know it can give a cheesy flavor. I don't want cheesy, but I do want a little more mouthfeel going on in this, and I feel like that might accomplish it. So let's see, I'm going to put about like a half a teaspoon of nutritional yeast and see what happens. It's not going to make it inedible, right? But this is part of today's experiment: is will nutritional yeast work? If somebody can't find miso, because I couldn't find miso. I know another store in town. I know the Ingles has it, and I will definitely in the next iteration go ahead and use miso. What in the world could be stuck on the bottom at this point? I feel something. Something got stuck. Weird. Well, probably I'm gonna be the only one. Oh, I'm the only one in the house who can eat this. Everyone else is allergic. I got soup for days. And it's funny because I had Vic pick up pizza earlier. I didn't think I was going to get to streaming until I realized how much I have to do tomorrow. Like, oh crap, that's not going to happen tomorrow. I need to add more liquid to this because my noodles are not getting as tender as I want. It's okay. It's going to work out. I'm going to know. I used the whole thing, so I know how many ounces of water I used. Epworth. Okay. Say North Georgia. Blue Ridge, LJ, Talking Rock. Talking Rock? I don't know Talking Rock. I know Blowing Rock. And of course, I know Blue Ridge. I've traveled up and down the Blue Ridge a bunch of times. I used to live in Florida years and years ago and traveled back and forth New York to Florida and kind of ended up that way. But when I'll be driving through the Blue Ridge Mountains in April, in a couple of weeks, my eldest son's grandfather, like he's the last grandfather because my dad died this summer, and well, not his last grandfather, because Rob's, my husband's dad, is still alive, but my eldest son's biological father's dad passed away on Tuesday. I just found out today. That felt a little weird. Okay. It's not bad. I feel like nutritional yeast isn't the call. I feel like I know what it did. It gave it almost a creaminess. It's not bad, but for a hot pot, I would leave it out. Miso is going to be a better option. All right. Let's see if we can grab a noodle and see how close it is. Oh, the City Blue Ridge. No, I'm unfamiliar with the City Blue Ridge. I don't really know my parts of Georgia very well either. I had co-hosts that lived in Marietta for years and years. Or Alpharetta? Shoot. A few more minutes on the noodles. Okay. I'm saying no to the yeast. Yes to miso. Can't believe I don't have miso in the house. A little bit of a bummer. It could use some salt. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit more. Maybe a quarter teaspoon of the better than bouillon mushroom in it to do that. I'm still not ready to take on MSG. If it needs more salt, I'll probably try MSG instead. But I need to bring the mushroom flavor back up to match the langostino. While the noodles continue to cook. For presentation, I'll probably just throw that last bit of, I'm going to put some more Napa in now. I'm going to shred up some fine to put on the top. Yep, that did it. Oh boy, that's kind of good. I really want to throw some like Mirin or Shaoxing wine or something in it, but I don't want to get that complicated. I mean, we are all, after all, surviving in a dungeon, making do with what we've got. I do want to keep it as basic as is feasible. I might grill or saute those and add them to it at home for home use, but not today. I'll probably put those in the fridge and figure out something else to do with them. I'm happy with as a first try. It's freaking edible. I mean, what else could I ask for, right? To not waste ingredients, to get so many specific things I got from the episode. I'm really the Farfetch, the Pokemon reference. That was a good call. The leak really gives a depth to this that like just the mushroom langostino wouldn't have carried well enough to kind of all the starchy noodles and vegetables. Tastes good. So I think to taste, people could add more soy. I might when I'm eating it. I thought about sesame oil. That's a no. My first iteration, I tried a fruit juice. It ruined it. And I did use miso in my first iteration. So that I did a couple years ago when I first had this idea. Let's throw in a little MSG. I feel like the noodles are pulling out a little of the saltiness. I don't want to oversalt. The Langostinos are, for lack of a better word, salty. So I think I'm just anxious to use this, but I think what I'll do is add a little to a bowl. I'm not going to put this in the pot, just to test it, to play with it later. All right. I suppose I need a... No, I don't need a ladle. I can use nice seafood mushroom soup. Wonder how my friends would feel about it. I wish you guys were here. Could taste it. I need taste testers. I can't do anything with seafood and like have my family test it. It's a huge bummer. So let's put some in a bowl. I wish this were a bigger, wider bowl as far as that goes. I mean, I guess I've got my big I've got a square black bowl that I got for something. I think it was presenting in one of the contests or something. I want to make sure I had a nice, pretty bowl. Ugh. Could definitely be broth here. Put a little Napa in there. Get a pretty picture. I know MSG has less sodium than salt, but it does ramp up flavor largely and differently. So I just have to get used to using it before I know how much I'm putting in a pot of something. It's also, I look forward to having a good way to cut sodium in recipes for people that need to do that. I want to be able to accommodate dietary needs. I love being able to do that. Oh, yeah, that's not going to work with the chopsticks. I'll have to do it like that. You know what? I think I'm going to have to put a stupid... Right. Yes, I just reached in there. I have chef hands. Yeah, just for context, to get some mushrooms into the picture that you can see and back out. All right. Soup. Soupy, soupy. Let's put a little bit, just a little bit for me. The MSG. Everything's for science today. Yep, it did exactly good. I was concerned because, I mean, it is a form of salt that would bring out the salt more. It didn't. It brought out the mushroom more. And not, it didn't bring out the fishy more. So, recovered Catholic keeps doing fucking Lent, even though I got pizza earlier. I crave fish on Fridays during Lent. I've been a witch for a really long time, but it just has stuck with me. Like, I thawed tilapia today too, when I didn't know what dinner was, just because that would be my backup. Just always. Okay, I got my picture taken. Yummy. Oh, and you guys, thank you so much for coming out. I'm so happy. I have an edible. I'm calling this a success. I could change the way it's done, but I could do it like this. It tastes like a hot pot. I mean, not the best hot pot I've ever had, but hell, for a first try. And like, for a fictional dish, I stuck as close to the components as religiously as I could. Anybody can make this. Oh, wow. Okay, so like the yam or the taro works really well with, like, the broth is strongly flavored. I'm like not kidding anybody with the crayfish and the mushrooms being very, strong flavors. The ginger got totally lost. It's in there somewhere, but it's not really needed. But the starchy, bland yam is freaking great. Little, I don't know how to explain it. Breaks it up. It lets you enjoy the broth more instead of getting overwhelmed with all the strong flavor. The noodles are rice noodles. I personally might leave them out. I really put them just in for the authenticity of having the noodles that Senshi made from slime in the soup. Oh, the nap is great. The nap is freaking great. So, success. Thank you, Senshi. I have a Senshi poster back here. He inspires me. If I had a way to convince my husband to start using his 3D printer again, there's part of me that wants to make up a cosplay for Nerdtacular of Senshi. Like, if I had the helmet, I could make a skirt or a tunic, and then maybe Kim would let me borrow a wok, and I would just strap it to my back. Oh, and I have to get a fake beard. But thanks for coming in and sharing with me. I'm excited to see your garbanzo soup. Natalie, and I did it. I finally did a full recipe test for this cookbook. That is my dream right now. Um, I'm gonna page through a couple episodes. I've got notes for the next one, which is roast basilisk omelet kakiagi. So I feel like I might go straight into the second one because it's roasted chicken with herbs and root veg inside. Cool. Um, an omelet, which they're a little weird with the omelet because they use mandrake, but it's kind of like parsnips and carrots, which I I don't really get. I'm gonna do a little research on how an omelet would taste good that way, um, especially because the way I wouldn't. I want to be truer to the ones I make or what they look like in the show. I think that's more fun. If people fans buy this cookbook, I want them to feel like they're doing the thing. I don't want to change it too much, but I can definitely do the roast basilisk. And then kakiagi is tempura. They One of the party, Chilchuk disarms a fire trap, shoots fire, and Senshi gets all excited like, "There's oil. There has to be oil for that trap, right?" Is that? And they track it down and they find the source of the oil. Now, Senshi says it's olive oil, and I'm not going to use olive oil for deep frying. So I'll have to make that adjustment because it's just the wrong oil. Um, but I absolutely can do tempura with like parsnips, and he does a meat one too. It looks like a little like a beef, like a shaved beef, which would be a replacement for the bat. I don't have. I'm not gonna catch a bat to use a giant bat. I don't think that's the best. I need some need to be. You have to have real life equivalencies for the monsters. Um, and even though a bat would be closer, I'm not going to catch and eat a bat or a rat. So, but I'll definitely do, I think, the roast chicken and a tempura, and that'll be chapter 2. And then I'll find another chapter. I want at least 3. I might pick one that has a dessert or something to be able to get this proposal on board for whoever I need to try and be the official. I want it to be the official one. So let's raid somebody. Who's on? Is Chef John still on? I don't know how long he's been on. Oh, geez. Leon is on. Do you guys want to go play games with him? I feel like Chef John's anniversary. I want to raid him. I might go play games with Leon a little bit, but in the meantime, um, I would love it if all 4 of you would just wait a minute, just go over and see Chef John. You don't have to follow if you want, but he gave me a great opportunity, and it's his streaming anniversary. Chef John Leung had me in that contest he hosted recently. And he's just a lot of fun. So it'd just be nice to say, happy anniversary or birthday. It's his birthday. I think it's his stream anniversary and his birthday. I don't freaking know, but let's go over and at least say hey to him. He's been encouraging and willing to answer any questions I have with me getting going streaming because I've been watching him for a while. And sorry about the dehumidifier. Someday I'll fucking remember to turn it off for streaming. Apologize. Anyway, let's go raid Chef John. I love you all. Thank you again for coming, and I look forward to cooking with you soon.